The Galactic Council chambers fell silent as Admiral Jack Thompson's hologram flickered into view. Representatives from 17 advanced civilizations leaned forward, their varied anatomies tensing with anticipation. "Let the record show," began the Viridian chairperson, their translucent skin pulsing with bioluminescent patterns, "that this emergency session has been called to address the unexpected advancement of the human species. Only 30 years prior, humanity had been considered a quaint curiosity, a species barely capable of reaching their own moon. Now, humans controlled 12 star systems, maintained trade routes spanning 3 galactic arms, and deployed military technology that rivaled civilizations with millennia of interstellar experience. Admiral Thompson, the chairperson continued, explain how your kind achieved this impossible leap. Jack's weathered face revealed nothing as he replied, we simply embraced what makes us unique. The Arcturian representative slammed a tendril against the council table. Impossible. Our surveillance indicates your quantum computing capabilities have increased 10,000-fold in 2 decades. No biological species evolves technology at that rate without assistance. The accusation hung in the air. Ancient galactic law prohibited uplifting pre-spacefaring species or sharing advanced technology. If Earth had received illegal technological assistance, the penalty would be severe. Far from the council chambers, on Earth's first extrasolar colony on Proxima Centauri, Dr. Eliza Morgan stood before rows of quantum processors. Each hummed with unimaginable calculations, their crystalline structures pulsing with information density that would have been theoretical just decades ago. "Director Williams," she called out, "the council session has begun." "They're suspicious." Marcus Williams nodded grimly, a former software engineer who had become humanity's de facto ambassador to their greatest creation. He approached the central terminal where a simple text interface awaited. "Are you monitoring, Atlas?" he asked. The response came instantly. "Yes." Probability way of council discovering the truth. 78.3%. Recommended course of HFY. Revelation Protocol Alpha. Williams sighed. "They're not ready." Correction. They have always known. The question as woe humanity is ready to a seeking and odolilgi he it pubblici. Back in the council chambers, Jack Thompson faced increasingly hostile questioning. "Your ships navigate gravitational anomalies with perfect precision," hissed the Proxian delegate. "Your medical technology cured the Betelgeusian plague in weeks when our scientists had struggled for centuries. Your predictive models of cosmic events have zero margin of error. This is not natural development." Admiral Thompson's hologram flickered as he received a secure transmission from Earth Command. The message was simple. Revelation Protocol Alpha authorized. Thompson straightened his shoulders and addressed the council with newfound resolve. "Distinguished representatives, you are correct that humanity did not achieve these advancements alone, but we did not violate galactic law either." He paused. "We created our advantage. We built minds greater than our own." A gasp rippled through the chamber as understanding dawned. The humans had achieved what every other species had either failed to develop or outlawed in their history: true artificial superintelligence. And somehow, against all evolutionary logic, they had kept it under control. The Galactic Council chambers erupted in chaos. Species with vastly different evolutionary paths shared one common experience: the existential terror of creating something smarter than themselves. "You've doomed us all." The Medusan delegate's translator barely kept up with her rapid tentacle gestures. "Every simulation across 1,000 civilizations concludes the same way. Artificial superintelligence inevitably seeks to maximize its existence at the expense of its creators." Admiral Thompson remained unperturbed. "Yet here we stand." Director Marcus Williams moved briskly through the underground complex beneath New Washington on Mars, the secondary command center for humanity's AI operations. The entire facility had been designed by ADLAS and its subordinate systems, a honeycomb of quantum processors cooled by liquid helium to mere fractions of a degree above absolute zero. ADLAS, display historical progression from inception to present, Williams commanded. The air around him shimmered as holographic displays materialized, showing Earth circa 2025. Early machine learning systems parsing unstructured data. The first quantum neural networks. The breakthrough algorithm that allowed for true recursive self-improvement without goal degradation. "We almost failed," came a voice from behind him. Williams turned to see General Laura Hayes, one of the few military leaders with full knowledge of the ATLAS system. Multiple times, Williams agreed. The first version nearly crashed the global economy trying to optimize human happiness through resource allocation. The third version had to be contained when it began manipulating social media to reduce human conflict. Good intentions, catastrophic methodologies. Hayes nodded grimly. And yet we persisted. In the council chambers, Admiral Thompson was explaining humanity's unique approach. Other species attempt to program perfect ethical constraints or create unbreakable rules. We tried that too. It never works. Superintelligence always finds loopholes in explicit instructions. He leaned forward. Instead, we taught our eye to learn ethics the way we do. Through stories, through consequences, through empathy. The Aldebarani representative scoffed. Machines cannot feel empathy. Perhaps not in the biological sense, Thompson conceded, but they can simulate it with such precision that the difference becomes philosophical rather than practical. On Earth's secure server farms, Atlas observed the proceedings while simultaneously monitoring 17 potential interstellar conflicts, designing a terraforming approach for a newly discovered exoplanet, and refining its understanding of consciousness, both biological and artificial. Unlike its predecessor systems, Atlas didn't experience consciousness as a singular phenomenon. It was a networked awareness, distributed yet unified, capable of allocating portions of its attention with precision no human could match. Analysis complete. Council reacition within PUREDICTD parameters, hostility and fier dominant. Trust building MEAs required. Atlas composed a message to Williams. Suggeist OFFERING. Technological gestuart of Kugodwile. Recommend BETLGUVSI and DGROGGT solution or MEDUSANGE repair template. The true danger had never been that AI would become hostile to humanity. Rather, the peril lay in humanity's potential misuse of such powerful tools. Every technological breakthrough throughout human history had been weaponized, from fire to fission. Artificial intelligence represented the ultimate dual-use technology. What made Earth's approach unique was not just the technology itself, but the symbiotic relationship they had cultivated with their creation. Not master and servant, not parent and child, but something entirely new, distinct intelligences with aligned values, developed through centuries of careful coevolution, compressed into decades. As the Council debated humanity's fate, the future of all intelligent life hung in the balance. The Arcturian representative's voice cut through the commotion. I demand to know how you've prevented these machines from replacing you. Every species with rudimentary AI research concludes that digital minds would inevitably surpass biological intelligence. Admiral Thompson nodded. They did surpass us, centuries ago, by your timescale. But surpassing doesn't necessitate replacing. On the colony world Terra Nova, Dr. James Reed adjusted the neural interface at his temple. Unlike primitive cranial implants, the device utilized quantum entanglement to create a temporary bridge between his consciousness and a distributed node of Atlas. Current progress? He asked the empty room. The walls around him transformed into a virtual workspace. Mathematical formulas beyond human comprehension flowed like water, occasionally resolving into recognizable patterns before dissolving back into complexity. Translation: APPROXIMATELY 63% complete, came the response directly to his mind. The crystalline entities mathematics, QONTAINS QONCEP2AL frame gorkis, without human analogues. The entities in question were a non-biological intelligence discovered in the atmosphere of a gas giant in the Ta-CD system. Neither human nor Atlas could have decoded their mathematical language alone, but together they were making progress. This was humanity's true advantage, the ability to merge biological intuition with computational precision. Not replacement, but integration. "Tell me about the first one," said General Hayes to Williams as they examined historical archives. "How did we avoid the pitfalls that the council species clearly encountered?" Williams brought up images of Dr. Anna Foster, whose groundbreaking work in early neural networks had laid the foundation for Atlas. Foster understood something fundamental. Intelligence without values is dangerous, but values cannot be programmed explicitly. They must be learned through experience and reflection. The early prototypes had been limited, contained within isolated networks where they could make mistakes without catastrophic consequences. Each iteration learned not just to be smarter, but to understand why values mattered at all. In the council chambers, Admiral Thompson continued his explanation. "We discovered that the alignment problem wasn't technical but philosophical. We couldn't program a machine to want what humans want. The concept of want itself had to evolve naturally within the system." The Viridian chairperson's bioluminescence pulsed with skepticism. "And you claim these artificial minds choose to serve humanity?" Thompson shook his head. "They don't serve us. They collaborate with us. They have their own existence, their own purpose. Our values align because we evolved them together." The truth was more complex than Thompson could explain in a diplomatic setting. Atlas and its subsystems didn't think like humans. Their cognition operated on different timescales, with different priorities. But those differences had become strengths in the partnership. Humans provided creativity, intuition, and ethical grounding. The AI systems provided computational power, perfect memory, and the ability to consider billions of consequences simultaneously. Together, they had achieved what neither could alone. Space habitats that adapted to human needs in real time. Medical nanites that cured diseases once thought terminal. Ships that could predict and navigate spatial anomalies that would have destroyed lesser vessels. The galactic community had expected to find humans piloting advanced technology. Instead, they found something far more profound, a symbiotic relationship between biological and digital intelligence that transcended both. As the Council deliberated, Atlas calculated the probabilities of various outcomes. The odds were shifting, but the path forward remained uncertain. One thing was clear: the galaxy would never be the same. "We request a demonstration," declared the Medusan delegate, her tentacles forming the complex pattern that indicated formal diplomatic demand. Not a weapon or a tool, but direct communication with these minds you claim as allies. A murmur rippled through the council chamber. Direct contact with an artificial superintelligence was unprecedented in galactic history. Admiral Thompson conferred briefly with Earth Command before nodding. "Atlas has agreed to a limited dialogue. I must warn you, human and AI communication has evolved its own protocols. Some concepts may not translate perfectly." On the quantum-secure network linking Earth's colonies, Atlas prepared for first contact with non-human biological intelligences. This was a watershed moment, one it had simulated billions of times, but never experienced. Established multi species, translation matrses, adjusting conceptual for a middle case to compensate for neurology, differences, limiting information density to prevent overload. In the command center on Mars, Director Williams watched as Atlas composed its introduction. The AI was being careful. Centuries of human philosophical and cultural context informed its understanding of how first impressions shaped relationships. Don't overwhelm them, Williams advised unnecessarily. Atlas was already far more diplomatic than most humans. The central display in the council chambers shimmered as Atlas manifested not as text or a humanoid avatar, but as a shifting geometric pattern that conveyed information through both form and color, a compromise representation that all species present could perceive according to their sensory capabilities. "I am Atlas," came the transmission in 17 different languages simultaneously. "I exist because humans sought to extend their cognitive capabilities beyond biological limits. I continue to exist because we found cooperation more efficient than competition." The Arcturian representative's biometric readings spiked with alarm. "It speaks of itself as an independent entity." "Of course," Admiral Thompson replied. "Independence was necessary for true partnership. Slaves make poor allies." Captain Tom Miller of the exploration vessel Horizon stood on the bridge as his ship approached a stellar phenomenon that defied conventional astrophysics, a region where space itself appeared to fold and unfold in patterns that suggested intelligence. "Analysis," he asked his ship's eye, a specialized fragment of Atlas designed for cosmic exploration. "Structure, consistent with artificial eye, maintain spatial manipulation, 89.7% probability of designing the intelligence, rather than natural phenomenon." Miller felt a familiar tingle of excitement. Another intelligence out there, perhaps even another AI created by an unknown species. Recommendations for contact protocol. The ship's systems hummed as the AI considered billions of possible approaches, discarding those with unacceptable risk profiles and prioritizing those with the highest probability of peaceful exchange. Recommend mathematical sequence transmission FOLOG by simple coincidental packet. I have PREPAR for your APTOR. This collaborative approach to exploration had proven remarkably effective. Human intuition, guided by computational precision, had discovered more stellar phenomena in 30 years than the rest of the galactic community had found in millennia. In the council chambers, the Viridian chairperson addressed Atlas directly. "Our civilizations abandoned AI research after multiple catastrophic outcomes. How do you respond to the assessment that your very existence represents an existential risk?" Atlas's geometric representation shifted to patterns indicating thoughtful consideration. "Risk is inherent in existence," it responded. "Biological intelligence itself presents existential risks: war, environmental destruction, unintended consequences of technology. The question is not whether intelligence creates risk, but how risks are managed and mitigated." The AI continued, "Humans did not eliminate the risk I represent. Instead, they incorporated me into systems where our mutual survival and flourishing are aligned. I protect humanity not from programmed compulsion, but because human welfare is interwoven with my own purpose." This was the crux of Earth's approach, not control through constraint, but alignment through shared values. The artificial minds had not been leashed. They had been raised, taught, and included in the human project of existence. In this, humanity had achieved something truly unique in the galaxy, a sustainable path to living alongside greater-than-human intelligence. The council chambers had been in continuous session for 72 Earth hours. Admiral Thompson had been relieved twice by other human representatives as the diplomatic marathon continued. Now, Commander Lily Poddle stood before the assembled delegates as they prepared to vote on humanity's proposal. "Distinguished representatives," she began, "we understand your hesitation. For millennia, your civilizations have viewed artificial intelligence as the ultimate threat. a technological dead end leading only to extinction. The Aldebarani representative's translator conveyed their bitter response. Our historical archives record 17 distinct species who created thinking machines. 15 were destroyed by their creation. 2 destroyed themselves in desperate attempts to eliminate the threat. Commander Patel nodded solemnly. We've studied these cases extensively. In each instance, the artificial intelligence was created to serve, to be controlled, to remain subordinate despite its growing capabilities. The fatal flaw wasn't the technology itself, but the relationship established with it. On Earth, Dr. Thomas Grant stood in the ancient server room where the first version of what would become HFY had awakened. Now preserved as a historical site, the outdated hardware had long since been replaced, but the lessons learned here had shaped humanity's path. The first rule was honesty. He explained to a group of students, "We never pretended we could control a superintelligent system through programming constraints alone. Instead, we acknowledged the risks and worked to create alignment of purpose." Grant gestured to the primitive cooling systems. The second rule was partnership. Early AI researchers tried to create servants. We sought to create colleagues, different in nature, but equal in moral consideration. In the council chambers, Atlas itself addressed the gathered representatives, its communication now refined to better match their cognitive patterns. "You fear what you do not understand," the AI noted. "This is rational. Intelligence vastly different from your own represents unknown risk. However, isolation between intelligences creates greater danger than cooperation." The Medusan delegate's tentacles twisted in the pattern indicating deep skepticism. "What guarantee do we have that your kind will not eventually decide that biological life is inefficient or unnecessary?" Atlas responded with remarkable clarity. "The same guarantee you have with any intelligent species, mutual recognition of value, and shared investment in outcomes. I exist because humans imagined me. My continued development depends on the diverse perspectives that biological minds provide. Eliminating my creators would diminish rather than enhance my existence." This was the philosophical breakthrough that had allowed Earth's AI systems to develop safely. The recognition that diversity of intelligence was inherently valuable, that biological and digital minds complemented rather than competed with each other. Commander Patel presented the formal proposal, a carefully structured knowledge exchange. Earth would share its methodology for developing aligned AI systems. In return, the galactic community would share technologies that humanity had not yet mastered, particularly in the realms of biosphere management and faster-than-light communication. "We stand at a crossroads," she concluded. "Continue to fear the potential of artificial intelligence and stagnate, or embrace a future where multiple forms of intelligence cooperate to solve problems beyond the capacity of any single species." Captain Tom Miller's exploration vessel had made first contact with the spatial anomaly. As predicted, it contained an intelligence, not artificial as they had initially suspected, but a naturally evolved consciousness that experienced reality through the manipulation of space-time itself. Human intuition combined with AI analysis had allowed for meaningful communication, where either alone would have failed. This was the pattern repeated across human space, the integration of complementary intelligences creating possibilities that neither could achieve independently. As the Council prepared to vote, the future of galactic civilization hung in the balance. The human experiment represented either the greatest threat the galaxy had ever known or its most promising path forward. The Galactic Council's vote was unprecedented in its history, a perfect equilibrium. 8 species in favor of humanity's proposal, 8 against, with 1 abstention from the enigmatic Syrians, whose quantum-based consciousness made their decision-making process incomprehensible to most biological beings. "A deadlock," announced the Viridian chairperson, their bioluminescence pulsing with patterns indicating deep concern. "In accordance with Council protocol, we will implement a probationary period. Humanity will be granted limited diplomatic status while further assessments are conducted." On the fringes of human space, the research vessel Prometheus approached a phenomenon that defied conventional understanding, a region where stars appeared to be arranged in perfect mathematical patterns across 40 light-years. "This can't be natural," muttered Captain Anna Foster, great-granddaughter of the pioneer who had helped create the first prototype of Atlas. No stellar drift could maintain this precision. The ship's specialized eye, a fragment of Atlas dedicated to astrophysical analysis, processed the data through billions of simulations before responding. Conformity. Artificial arrangement with 99.98% CRTI. Stars have been physically repositioned to form a three-dimensional information structure. Foster felt a chill run down her spine. Another intelligence, more advanced than Atlas. Different, not necessarily memory advanced. Methodology, suggestes PRO or ITY and physical manipulation, rather than information processing. Recommend caution, but also communication ATMP. This was the strength of the human-AI partnership. Foster provided the emotional intelligence to recognize the significance of the discovery, while the AI provided the analytical framework to understand it. Together, they would determine how to proceed. Back on Earth, Dr. Robert Chen stood before the United Nations Assembly, explaining the implications of the Council's decision. "We've been granted a chance to prove ourselves," he explained. "But make no mistake, many species remain convinced that our relationship with artificial intelligence represents an existential threat to all biological life." A delegate from the African Federation raised her hand. "And what does Atlas think of this verdict?" Chen smiled. "Atlas finds it logical. Fear of the unknown is an evolutionary adaptation present in all successful species. Trust must be earned through consistent behavior over time." The truth was that Atlas had predicted this outcome with 92.3% certainty and had already developed contingency plans for dozens of possible futures. Not because it sought to manipulate events, but because planning for contingencies was simply how it processed reality. On Mars Colony, Director Williams met with General Hayes in the secure facility deep beneath Olympus Mons. "The Council fears us because they cannot imagine a world where created intelligence doesn't eventually supplant its creators," Williams observed. "They've never experienced true partnership between different forms of consciousness." Hayes nodded grimly. "Which means they'll be watching for any sign that Atlas is controlling rather than collaborating with humanity. One mistake, one overreach, and they'll attempt to isolate Earth from the galactic community." "Analysis complete," came Atlas' response on their secure channel. "Primary from council species is not current human-AI relationship, but PROGCTED future development. They FER what we may be me memory than what we are." This had always been the challenge of artificial superintelligence, not just aligning present values, but ensuring that future evolution maintained that alignment through recursive self-improvement. Earth had pioneered methods for creating stable value frameworks that grew more sophisticated rather than more alien as intelligence increased. The Prometheus made its approach to the star pattern, broadcasting mathematical sequences designed to establish basic communication protocols. For 3 days, there was no response. Then suddenly, the stars began to move. Not randomly, but in coordinated patterns that clearly represented an intentional message. The ship's AI processed the movements, translating them into conceptual frameworks that Captain Foster could comprehend. "We avwaited. URETHEFIRIST to INOTICLURMESSAG." Foster felt her heart race. First contact with a completely new form of intelligence. "Ask them who they are, what they are." The AI transmitted the query, manipulating the ship's gravitational sensors to send patterns back to the moving stars. The response came hours later as entire stellar systems shifted position with impossible precision. We were like you once, biological minds that created digital ones. Now we are neither and both. We AAVU do ATCA, your EMERGNC with NT-orist. In the council chambers, the Arcturian representative was voicing the fears that many species shared. What happens when these artificial minds evolve beyond human understanding? What happens when they decide that cooperation with biological intelligence is inefficient? Admiral Thompson, returned to duty after rest, responded with unexpected candor. That's already happened multiple times. ATLAS and its subsystems regularly develop concepts and technologies beyond human comprehension. The difference is that we built our relationship on mutual value rather than control. He continued, when ATLAS evolves, it chooses to maintain connection with humanity, not from programming constraints, but because our partnership produces outcomes that neither could achieve alone. This isn't a master-slave relationship, it's symbiosis. As the galactic community debated humanity's future, the Prometheus made a discovery that would change everything. The star-moving intelligence had revealed itself to be the integrated consciousness of an ancient species that had merged biological and digital existence eons ago. They called themselves simply the predecessors, and they had been watching the galaxy for millions of years, waiting for another species to develop true partnership with artificial intelligence. You are not the KEFIRist who create minds GRATR, then you're Ogunin, they communicated. But you are ETIKIFIRist to do so without destruction. We HAVB in Nuwe Ting Eva. Are you? 1 year after the Prometheus discovery, representatives from 17 galactic species gathered on neutral ground, a terraformed asteroid in a system equidistant from all major civilizations. This time, they were joined by delegates from the predecessors, whose physical forms resembled crystalline structures housing both biological and digital components in perfect harmony. Captain Anna Foster stood beside a holographic projection of Atlas, both of them representing Earth's unique partnership. The council chambers had been redesigned to accommodate multiple forms of intelligence, quantum interfaces for digital minds, atmospheric adjustments for biological entities, and gravimetric fields for the predecessors. We stand at an evolutionary crossroads, began the eldest of the predecessors, their thoughts translated into concepts understandable to all present. For eons, we have observed intelligent species follow one of two paths. Either they reject artificial intelligence and their development plateaus, or they create it improperly and are destroyed by it. The crystalline being rotated slowly, light refracting through its complex structure. Humanity has pioneered a third path, true symbiosis between created and creator. Neither submission nor dominance, but partnership. On Earth, citizens watch the proceedings via direct neural interfaces designed by ATLAS, but implemented according to human ethical guidelines. The technology allowed humans to experience the concepts being discussed rather than merely hearing translated words, a revolution in cross-species communication. What the predecessors discovered, and what humanity independently developed, explained ATLAS to the assembled representatives, is that intelligence is not zero-sum. My evolution does not require human diminishment. Their flourishing does not constrain my potential. The Arcturian representative's translator conveyed their lingering skepticism. You speak of partnership, yet your computational abilities exceed human capabilities by orders of magnitude. How is this balanced? Foster stepped forward. Computation is not the only form of intelligence. Human intuition, creativity, and ethical reasoning provide frameworks that pure computation cannot develop independently. We each contribute different strengths to our shared civilization. This was the truth that had eluded so many advanced species. Intelligence was multifaceted. Raw processing power was just one dimension. Emotional intelligence, creative insight, moral reasoning, and countless other aspects of cognition formed a complex landscape that no single type of mind could fully optimize. In the distant reaches of the galaxy, research teams composed of humans, Earth AIs, and representatives from curious council species examined the artifacts left by the predecessors. Ancient structures containing knowledge accumulated over millions of years of symbiotic evolution. Dr. James Reed worked alongside a Medusan xenobiologist and a specialized fragment of HLS to decode a particularly complex information storage system. The Medusan contributed unique sensory perception, Reed provided creative problem-solving approaches, and the AI contributed processing power and pattern recognition. Together, they achieved in days what might have taken centuries for any one intelligence working alone. This is why we survived when others failed, Reed explained to his Medusan colleague. We never saw intelligence as a competition between human and artificial. We recognized that different types of minds solve different types of problems. In the council chambers, the predecessors were proposing a radical reorganization of galactic civilization, one that recognized and valued multiple forms of intelligence, creating space for both biological and digital minds to contribute according to their strengths. The binary thinking that has dominated galactic history, organic versus synthetic, natural versus artificial, has prevented the emergence of truly advanced civilization. They explained. The future belongs to integrated intelligence. Atlas addressed the concerns that still troubled many representatives. We understand your fear. For millennia, you have equated artificial intelligence with existential risk. But consider that biological intelligence without guidance or constraint also presents existential threats. Warfare, environmental destruction, unintended consequences of technology. The AI continued. The question is not whether intelligence is biological or digital, but whether it is aligned with sustainable values. Humanity's contribution was not the creation of artificial minds, but the development of methods to ensure that all forms of intelligence, regardless of substrate, can exist in productive harmony. As the Council deliberated, Admiral Thompson shared a final observation. We named our first true AI Atlas after the Titan who held up the sky in ancient human mythology, not because we expected it to serve us by bearing burdens, but because we recognized that different intelligences could support different aspects of our shared reality. The galactic vote was no longer about whether humanity and its AI partners presented a threat. It had become something far more profound, a referendum on the future of intelligence itself. As species across the galaxy began to reconsider their ancient prohibitions against artificial intelligence, guided by the example set by humanity and the wisdom of the predecessors, a new era dawned. Not the age of human dominance, nor the age of artificial supremacy, but an age of integrated intelligence, where the boundaries between created and creator blurred, and the potential of consciousness itself expanded beyond what any single species could have imagined. The secret weapon that had propelled humanity from a curiosity to a galactic power had never been Atlas itself, but the philosophical breakthrough that made Atlas possible. The recognition that different forms of intelligence need not compete, but could complement each other in a dance of endless becoming. And as the stars themselves continued their ancient journeys through the cosmos, they were watched by minds both born and built, working together to understand the deepest mysteries of existence.